This is the Outliers Edge podcast, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity by taking them to the edge of their comfort zone so that they can lead us to the edge of what's next. I'm your host, Niiamah Ashong. Let's do this. Hello, everyone. My name is Niiamah Ashong. I'm the founder of Outliers Edge, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. I love to slow down every time I say that because it feels like so lofty. Champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. And I think I'm slowing down in this moment because as I've been doing this now, I've been saying that for about 2 years from mid 2020. I've recognized something. I recognize that in the loftiness and the grandness of this mission and vision, where we champion the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity, I lost something. I at a certain point, I started thinking, oh, it's the people who are on the top hundreds list. It's the people who've been on TEDx's, or they've already launched their thing, or they're leading these large movements and so on and so forth. Those are the leaders who are shaping the next era of humanity. And I forgot something that was really important, especially important to me. And that is that, like, I see the outlier in anyone. And I see how I can see the things in them that make them special. One of my friends once described, she came to my house for a barbecue, and she came over and she's like, oh, Niiamah, I'm so glad I'm not a potato. I said, what? What do you mean? She's like, I'm so glad I'm not a potato because you don't hang out with potatoes. Potatoes are they're too average, you know? You hang out with like jackfruits and durians and she just kept naming all these different types of fruits and vegetables. And I ended that thing. I was like, you know what? That is true. Like, the people around me, she was meeting everyone. She's like, everyone here is really cool. And I said to her, one last thing I said, you know what though? And if you were a potato, I would be like, you better be the most potatoy potato I've ever seen. Like out potato any other potato I've ever seen. And you're in and I think that's what I've started to realize. The people who are going to shift, who are going to shape this next era of humanity are the people that we walk by every day, are the people who make a choice to show up more fully in who they are so that their bit of humanity gets included in the world. It's the person who looks you back in the mirror. That's who's going to shape the next era of humanity. And so now we're taking on what I consider almost like a new season. Unofficially, I'm calling the season The Outlier in You. We'll see where it goes. We'll see if it develops into something more or something else. But let's just stripping away titles. I don't care what you do. I care who you be. I do not care what you do. I care who you be. Who you be in the world makes a difference. It impacts every single person who you come across. And from that impact, we build a wonderful ripple effect that continues on and impacts in a way that we will never, ever know. But at the same time, for those who are influenced by who we are being, they know. So we're going to start something here. I'm excited because I get a chance to have an amazing conversation with an incredible individual and just an all-around outlier. His name's Rick Young. Rick, welcome to this conversation. Thank you so much firstly for being you. I was going to say for being here on this conversation, but I'm like, no, that's the doing part of it. And thank you for being the kind of person I wanted to invite to come be in the conversation with me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you for the introduction. Thank you for recognizing me and for inviting me to be here, as you said, to be here with you.
Thanks, man. I recognize. I said, how you doing? After I made this whole to do about not doing right. So now I'm going to ask you the real question that's on my heart. How are you being today?
Present and supportive. Being with myself and honoring the ebbs and flows of what that means and how the current changes in the moments. Checking in with myself regularly, not getting lost in this is the goal or the intention or whatever it is I set for the day, and I have to narrowly focus on that. For me, it's about making sure I check in regularly to see like, this was my intention, but right now, is that still serving me, or do I need to course correct? Is the current pulling me somewhere else today to do something else? So yeah, that's how I'm being right now.
Yeah, I feel that. Like, it puts a little smile on my face here, right? Because, like, before we got started, I was like, I don't know how this conversation is going to go. And I will say this to anyone that is watching this at any point here: the point here is not anything that Rick and I say with each other. Don't pay attention to what we say. There will be some insights. I'm sure there's some things that you might recognize about yourself. Pay attention to how we be. Pay attention to what resonates within you. Pay attention to what lights you up. Pay attention to what repulses you, and pay attention to what scares you, right? Because that's what the opportunity of this whole conversation is. There are some people who would probably think, how dare he waste my time by not having a clear agenda? How dare he like come in here and just think that like anything he says could just be great? Because Rick, I'm like, I can come in this with 100% certainty that this will be one of the best experiences of my life, simply because we chose to make it so. And I love the idea of us being here and allowing whatever emerges between us to serve you, serve us, serve me. I'll be honest, I'm looking for that as well. And then to like serve someone else, not because of any of our intentions, but it just like hits them in the right way or the wrong way. And they take it upon themselves to like go down whatever that journey is that it takes them down. How's that sound for you, Rick? Are you down to play that way today?
Absolutely. What you said there, like you made sure you had the intention to make this conversation like be great, one of the greatest, and you'll remember it. It reminds me of Louise Hay. She used to set up conferences. She created Hay House, and they had conferences. I don't know if they still do. And she set the intention every year for this year to be your best year. And
why is that important to you, Rick? Why, yeah, I'm really curious. Why was that important to you?
Because I so often hear, or at least it stuck with me when I heard people say it, like the adage of like, oh, high school is the best days of my life, or college was the best time of my life. I was like, for me, that felt very like lost. Like, so after that, then like, what is the rest of my life? And I didn't stick to that where I felt like that's how my life was going to be. But that was the first time somebody put it into words where I could remember it, where I could share it with others, where I could, at January 1st, say that with conviction. And also remember when December 31st came around and I looked at it, that there may be some aspects of my life this year that weren't better. And I put in quotes because we all have different definitions of how we.
Well, let me look at it this way for here, and you'll hear me like as we go on. I'm gonna keep shaping us here.
Yeah.
Regardless of how anyone else defines better.
Yeah.
For you, like you don't have to tell us what your definition of better is, but just stick with your definition of better for now. Like I want to get to know you.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, at the end of the year, it's just checking back in and seeing, was this the best year, and honoring what made that year amazing for me, and the struggles, and recognizing the value in that as well. And I'm a very optimistic person, and so recognizing that the optimism in the moments that may have been darker.
Okay, this sounds fun. It's like as we go on, I'm gonna just choose to explore whatever feels fun for me. And if there's something you want to explore, just let us know. Like hey, let's check this out a little bit. Like, the first question that came to my mind as I was hearing this here was like, oh, okay. He talked about January 1st and December 31st. Those are arbitrary times. Like they are the times that most other people go and do it. I'm curious if like, is that actually the year for you? Like I realized with my business, like, oh, September 1st through August 31st, that's really our year. So at the time of this recording, we're about 9 days away from the end of my year, because I'm like, like people kind of slow down in the summer, and then like September things start off. I would rather be like, I like to start off with people and then be like in my groove by the time that everyone else is ready to wake up and start their year, you know? So I'm kind of curious, like, the two questions on my mind are, one, do you ever change those dates? Like, do you ever like say like, all right, I'm restarting the year, or I'm looking at this year? And two, if there was a period that would like really be like, this is when I see like my growth, is it the January 1st to December 31st? Or is there another period of time that really like works with your cycles?
I love how you've created your own beginning and ending of the year. That's really cool, really groovy. And something I'm going to start doing for myself. I would definitely say I've never created the time to decide what the beginning and ending of my year is. I am very in sync with the natural rhythms, though.
Mm. Tell me more about the natural. When you say the natural rhythms, what are they? Because I'm out of sync with them.
Just the classic autumn, spring, summer, fall, and the energies that are associated with them. You know, the winter time, processing, going within, maybe taking a little more time away from people, you know, hibernating like a bear does, and honoring that stillness, that to kind of go backwards. In fall, you know, lots of things were falling away. The leaves fall from the trees, and honoring that space within, like where do things need to fall away from me? And then when the winter comes around, like, all right, what fell away? Is there something I still needed to learn from it? Was I finished with it? Or is there more that can still be there? And then what do I need to do to fully clear away so that when spring comes around, I can plant those seeds within myself, within a community, wherever it may be, people I'm interacting with. And then in summer, you know, blossoming. And while it's blossoming, you simultaneously see a little bit of space, because where I live in Japan, I have a garden, and I've really come in touch with that natural rhythm, come in touch with understanding, like when you plant a seed, you could plant 30 seeds. One season, 30 of them may come up. The next season, 5 of them may come up. And I could have done everything the exact same. And so it teaches you a lot about detaching from the process and understanding, doesn't matter how hard you try to control things, we can't. And so in summer, there's kind of a similar thing where you kind of got to back away. People, you know, they want to go on vacations, and they kind of, so in some ways you can almost say there's like 2 beginnings and endings of a year, because in the summer, as you said, with September, you gear back up for September when people are ready to get going again. And so that kind of happens even though there's a whole year there, people kind of pull back away. And so you can do a few more things in the September, October, November, and then create some more space for their fans, you know, for the holiday season. You know, it's really special to me. You know, and it's like that really final time to just check in with yourself.
So I'm going to bring in 2 things here right now as I hear this, Rick. One is I'm going to talk to anyone that's watching this here at any point here. And Rick just kind of slipped in there. He's like, oh yeah, like when I'm in Japan, like just a quick check here as we're having this conversation. What kind of connotations or preconceived notions, if any, did you have about where Rick might be out in the world? I love that you just like put in there. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And just play with that here, because like we're in the place of this whole thing is about being seen, being celebrated, being valued. And so I'd love to just give us a chance to just like see like what are the things that we thought we were seeing, and what are the things that we're curious about, you know. Rick, before the end of this, I'd love to like give people a chance to like continue the conversation with you in some way, shape, or form. So like I think it'd be cool if they're capturing things as you're saying, they get curious about it, like for that to be like some jump off points for some conversations and such, right? Yeah. So that's one thing that was going through. The second thing was so you're Japan, I was in Singapore, and I like I said, I'm out of touch with the natural rhythms without me actually knowing what exactly the natural rhythms were. I was just like, I just knew. I'm out of touch with it. Somehow I knew without actually knowing. But one of the things about living in Singapore is that it's summer year round. It's like wet and dry, you know, but it's summer year round. And now I'm living in California. I'm in San Diego, like, it's more or less the same temperature, or the same like weather conditions year round. Far milder than when I was living in the East Coast, right? And I was really in touch with those things. So I know Japan does have 4 seasons. Am I right about that?
Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
Japanese will tell you there's 5. There's a rainy
Ooh.
season also.
Hmm.
And this year, so I'm in America, as you brought up, well, where is he? I'm in America now. And this year I left Japan at the perfect time. Like 2 days after we left, it started raining. And for almost the entire summer, it's rained every day. Usually it's just June, the rainy season. The last couple of years, it's been part of June and July as well. But like last I checked, and it was the middle of August when I checked, it was like still raining almost every day.
Great timing on your part.
So
Unless, of
yeah,
course, you're a rain kind of person,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's check in on that then. I think one of the things that was really interesting to me was I heard someone talk about like our external seasons, right? The seasons that we're talking about, like you can see the snow falling, you can, you're seeing the flowers bloom and such. But they also made an analogy to our internal seasons. The times where like in projects, we feel like we need to hibernate or let the things that we were doing fall off the trees so that we can come in and say like, what are we actually going to be building for the future and starting to plant those seeds there. So I'm curious for you, when you say like you're in touch with your natural rhythms, firstly, just think about that internal analogous situation. And then the question I have for you is like, for you, do they line up? Like, is your like, I think about January as like being the middle of winter. Like, are you in winter mode there? Or is that like actually a springtime for you or a summertime for you normally?
No, I have to say, so obviously we're keep in mind, we're talking about like the Northern hemisphere. January is
Yeah.
the winter for us.
Yeah.
Southern's totally different.
Yep. Yep.
No, it's I would say over the last 3 years, I noticed patterns that were happening within my body, within my emotional, mental, spiritual state, where there were certain patterns of things that were very I want to say coalescent. I don't know if that's the right word. I'm not an English major. But coincided, maybe that's the more accurate word, coincided with the seasons. And I was like, oh, all right. And it really makes complete sense because I'm very drawn to and in touch with the nature as a whole. We all can speak to nature, but that doesn't mean we all listen or can really hear. And that's really a gift I have, is the ability to really like honor the frequencies of the earth.
I really appreciate you. Like, 2 things. I appreciate you. I appreciate you knowing your gifts, and I also appreciate you owning your gift right now in this conversation. Right? It could have been really easy to keep it to like a you second person kind of language, where it's like, like it had started there, and I was like, oh, well, what about you specifically, Rick? And then you brought it in, and not only did you like, you brought it in and you own it. How did that feel? How did that feel to actually be in like the ownership of like, yeah, this is actually something I have as a gift.
I felt awesome.
Yeah.
Especially, being recorded. I could easily have played it more safe and been, told myself whatever story I wanted to comfort myself for playing it safe. But for me, like really showing up truly was saying what I said and honoring not just myself, but the divine, Mother Earth, like really honoring the gifts I've been given and like sitting in it, embodying it. Like I can feel it coursing through my body.
Yeah. Like you got like a guttural, like, yeah. What's going on through my mind is like, it's not even my mind, like through my being right now is just like a true desire for like, I don't even know if it's a desire. I feel like I'm getting, I'm like, oh, all I want from the rest of this conversation is for like more of that Rick to keep showing up, to be like, I'm like, hey, if next time we have this conversation, you're like, hey, we need to do it outside. Niiamah, I don't care. Like, we don't have to be in the same place, but we both must be in nature for our conversation to take place. Just let me know. If that's going to help me see you more, I'm all in for it,
Cool.
I'm all in for it. But it was really cool just being in space with you around that and just like acknowledging that. You've been on a, let's see. I love people's gifts. That's typically what I look for in others. One of the things that I appreciate most about you, Rick, is like you have a sense of the two things that come in are like one, you have an element of like I'm down, right? I'm down to learn. I'm down to give it a go. There've been some things where I brought up some things that have been like developing on the spot, or that have like put people in a place where they could have made them really uncomfortable. And you have a way of approaching it that oh, this is it. You've given me the words in the past. Childlike wonder, not childish, but childlike wonder. And I'm feeling like I was just really connected to that right now. I didn't know what it was. But I was like, what, like he's just down. It's like, yeah, sure, let's go. Or yeah, I own that. Tell me a little bit about like how like where childlike wonder is playing out for you right now. What are some things that you're looking at with that eye, or with that, that sense of being with you? I'll be really curious about that. I am really curious about that.
So the childlike wonder has definitely been a process to recognize the value in it.
Okay, you're gonna have to tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah,
like expand.
Yeah, sure. So when I mean value, I don't only mean monetary, like how can I make money off of this, though that is important process of the human experience. I mean, like, so I have ADHD. I think we've talked about it. I don't remember. And I think that's contributed to like me having this playful curiosity. And, anytime I get around like family or friends with children, I find myself like drawn to hang out and play with the children. When I was teaching English in Japan, I loved being at the kindergarten, playing with the children. Like I loved being that. I love that childlike play, just, and the reason I call childlike wonder to you, it's important to emphasize not just the wonder, but the childlike part. When you see, especially when the children are so young and are curious about things, they're not attached to the outcome. And so for me, that's kind of like the difference between curiosity, wonder, or maybe it's just curiosity from wonder. That childlike wonder adds that innocence, that detachment from the outcome. And you're just like, ooh, what is this? And adding that playfulness, adding that excitement, that jolly, being animated, being fun. And I've been like that for so long. So I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 8. I'm 37 now. So this is like, it's been my life. And I've also seen the complete growth in research and information. What I was told ADHD meant for most of my, from 8 to college was completely different than the information we have now, right? So the story was different that I grew up with than other people may have. And it kind of was like, I'm immature and like I wasn't responsible, and there's different things that were told to me of what my childlike wonder was that kind of made me like, sorry, stuff it away.
When you say stuff it away right now, I get curious when our bodies start to respond to us. It's like you were saying it was clear, and then all of a sudden something got in the way of the clarity of that delivery. I see you smiling here. What's going on for you when I say that?
So I was going to say something else, and then that came up, and I honored that, to go back to like what we began with in the beginning, like honoring what's going through or coming through, where you are, who you're being, what's in your being. I coughed and I was like, is there something different I should be saying here than where the flow, the current, like did the current just change? That cough was like some rough tides. I really connect with water, and flowing and getting in the flow, right? And so I was like, did the current change? So I checked in and I was like, I'm not going to say what I was going to say. This is what I'm being called to say now.
See, this is why, like, I'm so happy we're having this conversation, because, like, this to me is like the part of the being, right? It's how you had the conversation, and I'm glad we slowed down a little bit on it, right? Because there's like, in many different ways, it might have just looked like, you cleared your throat, like, oh, maybe we should have had some water there, you know. But you caught that there was potentially something in there for you,
Yeah.
and you made a choice, you know. And that to me is one of like the coolest things. Actually, the thing in my mind is like, this is one of the sexiest things. I took an acting class about 15 years ago, and my acting teacher was always like, make the sexy choice, so every time someone makes a choice, like I still don't know what it was, because I wasn't that great at acting. Like there'll be another iteration of my life where I take on acting, I'm sure. But there's just something in that decision and choosing and making the choice there. And then you made the choice to actually like state it, you know. I was curious where it is. Like, I don't know. It's odd. It's like, everyone's not gonna be like, so tell me what was the significance of that cough to you, you know?
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like there's opportunities. Again, there's opportunities all around for us to see ourselves more clearly. And one of the things I really respect about you is that you take the time to like, not just, I don't know what it is. It's like the multiple dimension kind of conversations. It's not just what is being said, but it's what's happening in your body that might be impacting what it is that you're saying. I just really want to just acknowledge you for having that level of that additional tool, that additional way of being in conversation or being with someone to like call that in. How does that feel when I say that? What's coming up for you as I put that in?
So it was beautiful to see how you caught on there. I very intentionally, after I said stuffed it away, I very intentionally paused.
Mm. Mm.
Like I wasn't
I like that.
catching
You're
my
like,
breath.
did
I
you
wasn't
get
trying.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I guess some, like intuitively I felt that,
Okay.
and I wasn't pausing to catch a breath or I just felt like I paused, and I was like, this I could feel like this was the spot to pause, and then there was follow, but you didn't, like you bringing that forward added, you know, the juiciness to the sauce, to the dish that we're co-creating together. We're making, a nice pasta sauce, instead of you just added something else to just bring that sauce to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was
Was
really cool.
Well, like I think it's super cool too, because you were just talking about like ADHD, and one of the things that I don't know too much about it, but I do remember what I thought about it when I was growing up, right? We're about the same age. Actually, you gave me the gift as you were talking. I'm like, I'll talk about things. I don't actually mention my age all that much. I'm 36, and while I say I'm 36, I was gonna jump in and say that as soon as you said it earlier, and I was like, nah, I don't want to say it, you know. So so I'm like, all right. Part of what I do is not only just help people be seen, but to also go play on their edge, right? Feel what's uncomfortable. I'm excited because I'm like, I wonder what will open up in conversations now that like, I don't know, I don't have to hide behind a number for some reason. I really felt when you said it, like I just experienced the ease in which you just brought that in, from 8 to 37. I was like, I probably would have said something like for over 3 decades, like I would have just like generalized it. Like I don't, not even probably I would have said it that way.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank you for the gift of that in this moment. It's these small things that I think really add up to, you said earlier, like one of the things for you is like being present. I think that really like touches upon like what the real presence actually is. To be uh, let me pause really quickly. What I want to pause is, when you said from 8 to 37, for example, did you have any intention of it having any kind of impact on me at all when you said it?
You in particular, no.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is why I love the conversations, like the way that I choose to have these conversations here. It's like, it's super. So Rick, it feels really, I feel on my edge. I feel very like I'm comfortable in it. And another part of me is like, just really calls out like that element of being like, externally, it might come off as though I'm having a comfortable conversation, but internally I'm uncomfortable because I'm like, I know that there's value in this. And like, this is not how the world has said that value is communicated. The world has said you must have your 3 bullets, and each of those bullet points must have 3 different points underneath them, and they must have a framework with the words TM at the end of it, and a 4-step process in which one must follow in order to and to then retrofit it to the success of Apple or Pixar or Google or Amazon, because it's like I drank water. Let me tell you what else. Let me tell you who else drank water. Steve Jobs. It's like, yes, I get it. Like there's a way of this here that is, and I want to bring it into the space. We're about to start wrapping up this conversation, but I want to bring it into this space because we're playing together. All right. We are co-creating. I love that you brought that word into this space because it is exactly what's happening. We're co-creating, we're allowing things to emerge. And we are creating the value because we choose to create the value. And I think that is something that really strikes me as we start to like bring this conversation to a conclusion. I'm curious for you, what's something that struck you in this conversation? What's an insight that you had? What's an experience that you had that you're like, that it may be playing out for you? Or what's something of the scent, a place where you felt maybe disappointed that either we didn't go, or that oh, that's it, but like, let's share into this space a bit about our experience right here, whether it's a learning or whatever it is. And we'll use that as our jumping point to start wrapping up this conversation.
Thank you for this. I like how you said you pulled out and recognized that I'm someone who's down. I like that. That was really clear and powerful, impactful. That's something someone would sit with. And also the multidimensional aspect that you brought to the table. And for me, what was really important that I recognized in this conversation is that I allowed myself to just fully be and be in this conversation with you, not for it to feel like, it didn't feel like you were the interviewer and I'm the interviewee. It really just felt like this beautiful, as we both said already, co-creation of this experience that we brought together. And I just, like, my energy just right now feels like so high and so amazing, and just adds to the recognition within myself that I love this right here, like being in conversation, co-creating experiences with other people, like, and having really meaningful, impactful experiences and presence and like intentionality to this conversation in a way that that doesn't need to be actually articulated.
Booyakasha is what comes to mind. Like that's it was like booyah at first. I was like, no, let's give it the whole thing. Booyakasha. All right, Rick. We have many other opportunities to talk. We'll talk in master classes. We'll talk in other experiences together. So I'm feeling good and complete for today. One of my intentions was to see you, to celebrate you, and to value you, and to allow you, and to put you in a space where you may allow yourself to be seen, to be celebrated, and to be valued, not by others, but by yourself. Right. And so regardless of how that transpired for you, I want to acknowledge you for who you showed up as today. I get excited to come back to this years down the line and see both of us in conversation, see this moment, see who we were being then, and seeing how that like journey has continued to who we will be at that point. We just had this wonderful experience together. There may be some people who do want to continue the conversation, that are curious about different things, that just want to continue to be in your world specifically, Rick. If that was the case, how can someone choose to continue the conversation with you?
There's a variety of places. People can find me on LinkedIn. I'm under Rick Young. There's a picture. The picture of me is out in nature. I'm wearing a shirt with some mala beads. Someone may hear this in the future. I'm sure my picture will change. My description will change as well. So that's why I'll give you Rick Young. Mm-hmm. On Instagram, it's _ Rick Young and then _ again afterwards. Or you can find, you can find me on my website, which is rickyoung.org. So those are the 3 best places to get in touch with me with various offerings.
Yeah.
And places to play.
Awesome. Well, Rick, I'm feeling complete. Is there anything else that you want to share on behalf of you or on behalf of anyone else here? I'll finally give you to speak this, the place to go speak to others. I'm like, let's just keep it between me and you. But if there's anything else that's coming out that just feels like it's coming off your heart that you want to put out into the world, let's let that be said, and then we'll wrap up for today.
My wish is for you to see the light within yourself, to allow it to burn brighter and brighter every day, to honor your light in the way that only you can, and to surround yourself with those who ensure that it burns bright.
Thank you for that, Rick. And my wish is the same for you. I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely, man.
We're just getting started. Take 10 seconds to think about your greatest insight from today's conversation. And if you're ready to go and bring this to a deeper, more applicable level for you, come and join us in an upcoming masterclass. Go to outliersedge.com/masterclass to be coached live and to bring your aspirations, your goals, and your challenges and have them handled in real time. This is high flame, high impact, high transformation. Go to outliersedge.com/masterclass and come experience your next level of leadership.